This is section 2 of 5 in the QuickBooks Online Certification Exam. And some of the topics I'll be covering is users, sales tax, payments, banking, apps, tags, and a couple of other topics at the end, random topics, and some old questions that might still be on there or in the database. So users, QuickBooks user roles are customizable permissions you can give your team. User roles are either billable or non-billable. Billable users count toward the user limits that are given with each subscription, while non-billable users don't. Roles that count toward the user limits is the primary admin, the company admin, custom user, which is in the advanced subscription only, and standard users. The roles that do not count toward user limits is time tracking only and report only, and that would be plus an advanced subscription only, and then the take payments only user, which you would get through Go payments only. So let's look at this article right here that I thought was worthy checking out. All right, so they have here learning about user roles. Oh. All right, so they have here, and I put the ones, the next slide I have are the user roles that they discuss in the training unit. But here are the ones that count toward your user limits. And that's something we talk about later because we'll look in depth on subscriptions and what exactly you get under each subscription level. So these are the ones that count under the total count of users you can have for the subscription level you have. So you have primary admin, and that's the principal user who has access to everything inside of QuickBooks Online. I know some people allow their bookkeeper or accountant to be the primary admin, but that should actually really be the owner or the main primary person running the business. Then you have the company admin, and the whole QuickBooks account can be accessed by the company admin, except for editing or removing the primary admin's access. So the accountant or bookkeeper could be the company admin for a small business. Then you have a custom user, again, that's only an advanced, and then you have the standard user. What are the roles that do not count toward, and that's the time tracking only user, and they give you examples there, and reports only user. And then the payment only user goes under Go payments. All right, and this is a good article. I'm not going to go through all of it because we are going to tackle this topic again. All right, so when you have a QuickBook Online, because it is different with QuickBooks Online Accountant, but for QuickBook Online companies, you go to the gear icon and you go to Manage Users, and then you would see a list of your users there. So if you wanted to just edit one of the users there, you would go to all the way to the right, you'd see the action column, and then you would be able to edit one of those users' abilities. But if you wanted to add new, there'd be a green add new link on the top right that you'd be able to click. And then when you click that, this window pops up and it'll say add a new user. And then you would select the user type and you would say it's either a standard user or a company admin. Because remember, the primary admin would already be selected. And then new users will then receive an invite to join the company. It asks them to select, you'd ask them to select the link in the email, and they would create a new Intuit account or just sign in if they already have an Intuit account, and they would follow directions. And then these are the common users they have listed in the training section: primary admin, company admin, standard user, and then the time tracking only and the reports only. So if you want to take a snapshot or quick notes on these 5. And then here are sample questions that you might see for users. If a general partner wants to allow their silent partner access to only their financial reports, what type of user would the silent partner be assigned as? So they're asking here, what type of user only would have access to the financial reports? That would be a report only user, report only. So you'd see this for companies where, here I gave an example, you have partners, but one is a general partner. General partner usually is the person who's working for the business, invested, more time and energy or even money maybe in the business. The silent partner is somebody who probably just made an initial financial investment, but doesn't partake in the day-to-day activities. And so they would only need access to the financial reports. Another example would be like a nonprofit organization might have board members that needs only access to the financial reports, and so they would be report-only users. Here's another question. What statements can be made about managing users in QuickBooks Online? Well, here are the two statements. There are different user types to select from, and user levels of access and permissions can be customized. And then another statement would be when a new user is added, they need to follow the link they received in their invitation email to sign in and get access. Some more questions. How do you manage users in your client's QBO account? So if they have a company QBO account, you would go to gear icon and manage users. How do you manage users in the QBOA? So with QBOA, you would have one of two ways. One, you can go to the gear icon and then go under your team, or you can go to team in the navigation pane on the left-hand side. You would select team, and then there would be the list of users. So it's the same kind of setup, but it's not the same way to get to it. And by the way, today I will be coming here to the Craig's landscaping and design to reference a company QBO. Last time I was using my QBOA account. Today I'll be using this. And so since we decided to start off with users, you'd go to the gear icon, and right under accounts and setting is managed users. And then the screen would pop up. This is Craig Design, so I don't know if there's any users. The screen would pop up with the list of users that are there. And if there isn't anyone, you can, on the right-hand side, there'll be a green button. That's the add user. And remember that screen I showed you, they don't have any users. You go to add users, and that's where that screen I showed where it says add new user. And the first thing you would select is the user type. So here's the add new user, and then you would select which user type you're setting up, and then you would select next, and it would keep going, and you would follow the prompts. Okay. The next topic we're going to look at is sales tax. You would get started by selecting taxes from the navigation pane, and then you would select set up sales tax right here. To enable sales tax, To enable sales tax within QuickBooks Online, you would navigate to the Sales Tax Center and then click Taxes in the left-hand navigation. Well, to get your Sales Tax Center, you would click Taxes in the left-hand navigation. And then if you don't, you might see also their payroll. But if you don't have it, you would see your sales tax tab. Or if you've never set it up, you'll see that screen I just had a second ago, and there'll be a green link there for you to set up sales tax. You would then follow the wizard after you click that set up sales tax link. You would follow the wizard to complete the information about your company, sales tax rate, and appropriate tax agencies. This step is important to make sure that the appropriate rates are tied to the appropriate agencies. And that's both state and local, especially for future tax rate changes. When setting up products and customers, you also want to make sure you're identifying the appropriate sales tax status for your products that are taxable, as well as the customers that must pay tax to you. QuickBooks Online allows us to create custom tax rates. So if you do not have a custom rate for a customer, the default would be to use the location of sales field address. So when you're filling out an invoice or a sales receipt, you'll see location of sales. So in that field, that's the address that would be used for the sales tax rate and the shipping location. This is a feature I believe will be addressed and possibly changed in the future. If you are familiar with the ProAdvisor blogs, you would see that in the beginning of this year, in 2022, there were a lot of companies complaining about the new change with this particular box we're talking about here. The location of sale fields. So there were some changes made, and a few people were having issues in getting the proper sales tax rate, charged to their customers and on their products. And so what was happening, pro advisors like me, because I did have a couple of clients that reached out to me, I had to explain to them how to use the custom rate as well as how to override the location of sales field. This is something we did actually in my 10 chapter course because there was a rate that changed that wasn't aligned to the book. So we were constantly overriding. So if you watch it, you'll see how I showed you how to override the amount by selecting see the math section. So I encourage for my students, when we had the sales tax issue, I encourage them to do the override, the amount in the see the math section. And then what happens is you scroll down in that section and you put either the rate or the amount and then the reason. And then you just confirm and it'll automatically change that. Obviously, that'd be something tedious. You had to do it every single time like we did with the class. And so it's obvious you would want to be able to sit down with the specialist and figure out how to address the problem, especially if you had hundreds of clients like I did with one of my customers. One of my old clients was saying, well, I have just too many people to constantly have to override each one. And then I said, okay, well, then you're going to have to call and go through the process of how to properly change the rate. And this is another article that I came across that I thought was pretty good on the steps of processing your sales tax rate for your business. So let's look at that real quick. And so QuickBooks can automatically do a sales tax calculation for you on your invoices and receipts for easy and accurate filing. Then it lets you know when your tax payment is due so you can file on time and avoid fees, like late fees. So here are the steps that they have you looking through. There's a video down here. And then what I really liked about here was saying step 1, learn how QuickBooks calculates your sales tax. So you need to look at what QuickBooks needs, what information they need in populating your sales tax. Step 2, tell QuickBooks where you collect your sales tax. So the most common way is by the address and the proper zip code. Step 3, add tax categories to your products and services, making sure that your products have the proper taxable setting. Step 4, double check your customer's info, making sure that you have the proper address because some of your customers are also you're going to have to charge maybe a local municipality tax rate that you would have to then send off to their municipality as well as their state. And so you need to make sure you have that correct, the address correct. Step 5, tracking sales tax from your customers. So making sure that if you're taking that sales tax in, that you have that correct number, that you've applied the proper rate and sending it off on time to that taxing agency. Step 6, check how much you owe and why. 7, file your sales tax return. And it's important that it's accurate and on time, or you're going to pay a penalty. All right, so here's some of the questions you might see under sales tax. If a client calls you and expresses that they think their sales tax isn't being calculated correctly, what should your client verify is correct? They should verify that the tax is being calculated on the correct address, which is shown in the location of sale field. And the other one is that the correct tax category was selected when creating or updating the product that's being sold. Question number 2, your client is using automated sales tax and is about to create an invoice. What would you tell them about the importance of the location of sales field? Well, the importance is that the address in the sales field, the location of sales field, determines how much sales tax is applied. So if you put the wrong address in there, or if you have a client that has several locations and you by mistake have the wrong location address in there, then you're not going to have it shipped correctly and you're not going to have the proper sales tax applied. Some more questions. When first setting up sales tax for a client, what information will be pre-populated? The answer would be the business address. When the sales tax feature is enabled in QuickBooks Online, where must you record sales tax payments? Well, you would want to check if you take my course, you'll see we go to taxes and then sales tax center. And that's where you'll see how much you owe in sales tax. And then there'll also be a link there for you to click and it'll send you over to the proper website of that taxing agency for you to pay. And last question. In QuickBooks Online, what 4 data points do you need to set up sales tax for a client who only does business in their home state? You need their company address, when they started collecting sales tax for that agency, how often they must file a tax return, because it could be monthly or quarterly, and then when their last tax period started. The next topic is payments. So with QuickBooks Payments, you can attach a Pay Now button to the online invoices. Customers can pay through the button by credit card, debit card, Apple Pay, or ACH bank transfers. Payment will be deposited automatically and your books updated. So here's the information on payments straight from the QuickBooks source. And then just to continue on with this page, the primary admin of the QuickBooks Online company should connect the QuickBooks payments, and the accountant should not be the primary admin of the client's of the client's account. So the QuickBooks payment account should therefore not be set up by the accountant. It should be set up by the primary admin. Remember earlier I said the primary admin should be the person who owns the business or the person who runs the business. And so the accountant should not be, and they should not be setting up the QuickBooks. But remember, the word is should not. Doesn't mean it never happens, but it should not be like that. So let's go over to this article. Oh, and this isn't the article. This is the Intuit payment breakdown. So flexible ways to get any job paid. So this is something that's really been looked at in the last year or two. QuickBooks payments, and now we have QuickBooks checking. So I think that we're going to see a lot more coming out of QuickBooks with their bill pay, their receive payments, and their QuickBooks checking. And with that, I think these third-party apps that they've been focusing or promoting in the last couple of years, they're going to kind of downplay that now and focus in on the features or the apps or the services that they offer. So this kind of just talks about, the deposits and how easy it is to access your funds and how much the payments cost is. Because you're going to have some clients that are going to use credit cards and so on. So they talk about, if you already have QuickBooks payment account, if not, you have to sign up for one, you get a merchant's account, and then you select which plan works for you. I'm not going to go over that now because we actually go over that in a future one as far as like the options of payment. Okay, payments made but batched together for a large deposit or until cleared, you would use the deposit to undeposited funds. So you could see that here. So what happens is, if you might have a client that you sent a bill out and they're making installment payments, or you might have, some businesses have checks and payments made throughout the week and they don't make the deposit until the end, the actual deposit until the end of the week. Whatever the situation may be, that they're only going to put it through in a large deposit or in installment payments. You want to make sure you're putting it in through the undeposited funds. And then once the deposit actually clears, you would then make sure to make the deposit field show the linked proper bank account, and you would do I don't know what your company, but some companies do an actual manual journal entry where they transfer the monies from undeposited funds to the proper bank accounts. So here are some questions you might see with payments. If your client is allowing a customer to make installment payments but wants to group together multiple payments into one large deposit, what account should be used when receiving a payment? We just showed and discussed that. Undeposited funds. Where should a client initiate the setup of QuickBooks payments? They go to gear icon, accounts and setting, and then payments. Another way to state it would be payment tab in the accountant settings. So you go to the gear icon, accountant settings, and then you would see the payment tab. Which is correct regarding setting up a QuickBooks payments account for a client? The accountant should not activate the QuickBooks payments on behalf of their client, and the primary admin should activate the QuickBooks payments. So I don't know what kind of answer they might have, but both of these are correct. So I don't know, it could be one or both. A client reports that they recorded customer payments against open invoices and still does not see the payments on the bank deposit screen. You can have them check which field on the receive payment screen to verify the payment was properly linked to the checking account. So what they're asking here is the client saying that they made payments against open invoices, but they don't see the payments in the bank deposit screen. What would you tell them to look at in the receipt payment screen? If you remember, that was up here in this slide. What would you tell them to look at? They would look at the deposit to field because it might still say undeposited funds. Because remember, I told you, you then later, when the deposit clears, you need to link it to the proper bank account. So you would need to do that proper entry and then make sure that in the received payment screen that it is linked to the proper payment account, whatever checking, savings, I don't know what account it would be. All right, payments with Melio. So remember I said a few minutes ago, now we have third party, well, we did have third party apps that were promoted by QuickBooks. This is one of them. So Bill Pay, powered by Melio. The other one is Bill Pay. It's just bill.com. It's a free integrated payment solution that allows QuickBooks Online users to pay business bills from anywhere. It makes managing cash flow and paying bills easier. During the two-way sync setup, a payment account in Melio must be mapped to a checking account or credit card account in the client's QBO. If it isn't, then Melio will create an account automatically. Some businesses like to use a money out clearing account for third-party payment services. So sometimes they'll automatically link it to their checking account or credit card account that they know they want to use to pay their bills. Or sometimes they'll set it up to a specific account that they set up just for whatever that third party is, Melio or PayPal, and then they'll have a specific account for that. And when they go to say they made a payment, until it actually clears, they'll use that money out clearing account until that bank account has been deducted. So let's see what it says here on Melio. I've actually had, I think, 2 clients now that did, and they actually didn't like Melio. So I don't know too much about it, but I haven't heard that many great things. So, all right, so Melio, pay all bills on your terms, choose to make payments free. So if you're using ACH bank transfer, it's free. But if you use your credit card, it's a 2.9% fee, which isn't ridiculous. I know I pay my property taxes online and I pay about 2.9%. So that's pretty, comparable to other. How it works, you add the bill or invoice detail, you select the payment method, and then you choose payment delivery. So down here they have a table that shows you the costs. And again, I think it's pretty comparable. It's not, if you do a bank transfer directly from your bank, it's free. Or if you send a check, it's free, and the checks are sent through United States Postal Service. If you use a debit or credit card, it's 2.9%. Again, pretty reasonable. And then if it's fast track, so you need it delivered immediately, it will cost $20. Or if it's international funds, it's $20. So, and the service itself is free. It doesn't cost anything. However, I always look at reviews, and I was going down the reviews here, and what I noticed, the number one complaint is their customer service. So sometimes payments might be delayed or something might have happened, and everybody on here pretty much says the reps are rude. So that's kind of what I got from my client. And so as a pro advisor, I tell you, be familiar, do your homework, tell your clients to do their homework, but also you should be familiar with how the apps are, because you want to be as honest as possible with your client. So now, as I was saying earlier, the payroll services at QuickBooks, they're revamping them now, and I think that there's a lot of great features that they're introducing. But before, I was being realistic with them and telling them, I don't know if this is something you'd want. So make sure you know what that app is about before you tell your client. You should try Melio, and then if they go and look and they'll see, wow, Melio is only 2 stars or 3 stars because it has really bad reviews. Another screen on payment with Melio's. Once your payment account in Melio is mapped to the checking or credit card account in your client's QBO, the client can check the bill payment screen to make sure the proper account was billed to the payment. So just as we just saw a second ago with the received payment, I said, okay, let's see if we had the, went into the proper, when we made the deposit, did it go into the proper account? This is on the other end. We want to see that when we have the bill payment, after the bill was paid, we can open up the bill payment screen and it'll show you what account did it come out of. And was that the account that you chose with Melio? Was it your MasterCard? And if it was correct, okay, great. There's nothing to go beyond that. So here's the type of question you might see with Melio. I guess we only have one. I think there were 2 or 3 last time. But now that they revamped, they only have one. So this is a clear sign that they might be moving away a little from the Melio. But here's the question. Where would your client navigate to view the status of a bill payment that was paid using Bill Pay powered by Melio? Well, they would open up the bill payment screen and verify the proper payment account was used. And if you don't know how to open up the bill payment, you could just go to the bill itself. And if it's paid, it'll say on the right hand side paid, and then there'll be a little link on the bottom for you to go to the bill payment, because it'll say paid and it'll have like the date there and the amount, and you would click on that link and it would take you to the bill payment screen. And I have it here. It could be an online payment account, because remember I was saying some clients like to set up for these third parties a clearing account linked to a specific bank account, an online payment account that they use just for this service to make sure that everything's going properly. All right, the next topic we're going to look at is banking. Now we'll start with linking a bank account. So connecting your bank account in QuickBooks Online is simple. You want to go to the Banking Center from the left-hand navigation pane. If it's the first time you've ever set up account, you'll see Connect Account. Otherwise, you would just click Link Account, which is further on to the right, and you would already see your banking tiles there that are connected. You would select the bank and then the sign in, and you would sign in just as you would on online banking. And then you would select the bank account from the chart of accounts or add new. And then you would choose the account type, either banking or credit card, and choose a detail type. And then you would give the account a name, and then you would select save. So I have here, let's look at the Banking Center and the banking tiles of connected accounts. So let's go to, this is the Craig's Design and Landscaping Service, the test drive. That's my chapter 1 in my 10 chapter class. So here's the banking. So I'm going to come over here to banking, and Craig's does have a few bank accounts set up. I believe it's checking, credit card, and saving, right? Yeah, so checking, savings, and MasterCard. Here's where you would see link account, right? But if you very first get started, I think on that other screen I had here, oh yeah, if you've never set up an account before, you would click connect account, because this little pop-up screen would come up and it would do a little kind of tutorial for you. But here, this already has been set up for us. And then just want to show you a few things. So you see here they have the for review, categorized, and excluded. This is where the bank feed comes in. So every month when your bank account comes in, because you're setting up this bank feed, once you set up your checking account or your savings account or whatever, when you get your monthly statement, it automatically links into here and you come down here. I'm not going to go into this too much because we definitely go into detail on this in advanced. But this is where you would select where this is. Now, if they don't know, that's when they use that uncategorized income or uncategorized expense, because they're not clear on where this goes to. But what I do want to show you here is this is highlighted. So, because if I clicked here, that would go gray. So this is highlighted, and if I click the pencil icon, there's 2 options. There's edit sign-in info, and that would be me changing the sign-in info for that particular bank, and then edit account info. And then under edit account info is where you would be able to disable this link. And what happens to disable it, this is where we have what this account looks like in my chart of accounts. But if I want to disable or disconnect this account from the bank feed, I would click over here, disconnect this account on save, and then I would save. As a matter of fact, I'll do it because this is Craig's landscaping. And if I click save, it immediately will disconnect it and you won't even see it anymore. So if you wait a second, because yeah. So in a second, yep, there it goes. So now it is disconnected. And I would have to go through the process again of reconnecting it. I know there's a lot of articles out there on disconnecting. You don't want to just do that because there's implications in disconnecting your bank account. But I just wanted to show you the step. Connecting your bank account to QuickBooks Online allows you to access and record banking and credit card transactions in your check register feature in QuickBooks. The days of manually entering every transaction into your accounting software are over. Bank fees allow your banking and credit card transactions to be reconciled and reported in a more efficient manner. So what they mean by that is back in the day, bookkeeping was, very tedious. And now with QuickBooks, it, probably took half the time off. And now with the bank feed, it took even more time off because you have this bank feed coming in and you could just quickly link them to transactions, and it makes the reconciliation process extremely easy. So I have here an article. Let's see what this is. I don't really remember. Oh, and it can't be found. So maybe it wasn't that great. Maybe it was taken off. I'm not sure, but it can't be found. So I don't really remember what that article was about. Sometimes bank accounts need to be temporarily or permanently disconnected. Here's the process. So you go to the banking center, you select the account you want to change, and then you select the pencil icon. And that's actually what I just showed you. So you went to the pencil icon and you went to edit account info. And then on the pop-up box next to the checkbox, it says disconnect this account on save. Remember, that pop-up box is the chart of account box. And then once you click save and close, that account will be erased from your connected accounts. Transactions listed in the for review tab for that, because remember I was showing you where if you scroll down, that's where it shows all the bank feeds, and they might have things that are already connected. If they don't know what something goes to, they have uncategorized expenses and so on. Well, in that list, anything that was in the for review tab will be lost once you disconnect your bank. So I just disconnected that bank for that company, and therefore anything that was in for review tab immediately just gets scrapped. So you want to make sure you review it properly before disconnecting. So you want to make sure you add or exclude any of those transactions that are in the for review tab before you disconnect that bank feed. Okay. Here's some questions you might see in this area. A client can connect all their bank accounts to their banking center in QuickBooks Online. What can they do to customize the way accounts appear and make it easier to distinguish between them? Actually, now that that was what that article was about. So there's some few things you can do. One of them is use the bank name in the accounting name. So you can put Chase checking account, Chase savings account, Bank of America checking, and so on. And the other one is rearrange the order of the tiles and order them to the liking. So when you're in there, let me see, do I still have it up? Okay. So when you're in there and you come over here, wait a minute, where do I have it? Nope. No. Oh, okay, here we go. I'm sorry. There it is. So this is where it is. So if I go reorder, I would be able to put which one, and we just took the other one around, so this is no fun, but we just took the other account off. So I can sit here and reorder the order in which I think is important, but we only have the two accounts anyway. So, but if I still had the checking and the savings, it would have made more sense for me. I could have said, oh, let me put savings first if that's the one I use more commonly. So I apologize. It was right here. You come over here and then you reorder what you want to go first or what you want to go last. And obviously you would put it in the order that probably is the most important to you. So those are the two ways you could maybe distinguish between your different checking accounts if you had several checking accounts, changing the name and reordering them. When disconnecting a bank feed in QuickBooks Online, what happens to the transactions in the review tab? Remember I said once you remove it, everything that hasn't been categorized yet will be removed from the remove tab, from the review tab. Where should you go to link a new bank account in your client's QuickBooks Online company? You would go to the banking center and then you would go to add new one. All right, we got one more question. What if a client's bank info or their email was compromised and they need to update all their banking passwords? Where would you direct them to go and update their bank info on the QBO? If you remember, I showed you when you got into the banking center and you went to the bank tab, you would select that account tile. The account tile was this right here, and then you would go to edit, sign in info. Edit, sign in info. So if you click on the bank title, you would be able to edit, sign in info. So Go to the Banking Center, Bank tab, select the account title you want, and then under the bank, you could go to the pencil icon or you could double click it and go to Edit Sign-in Info. Apps. Apps are third-party companies who provide services and solutions customized for QuickBooks Online subscribers. Apps are an easy way to boost your firm's productivity and reduce busy work. So let's see what we have here. I honestly don't remember because I made this video a couple of days ago. So, oh, not the video, the PowerPoint. Okay, adding an app and adding a partner. So there's several apps. Some are free, some are for a small fee. Some are very necessary depending on what your business is. So they're showing you the process. The first one is you go to your apps tab on the navigation. You click Get App Now. You can go to Browse category. You can look at different categories of apps. I think that's the next channel. Now that I think about the next one I have is looking at the different categories of apps. And then you would install app. Okay. So the second one here, I believe, has a breakdown of the different types of apps that are out there for QuickBooks Online. So this is straight from Intuit, and this is the list of apps that are available. And of course, a lot of clients, the first thing they ask, can you tell me about free apps? So you have popular apps, trending apps, free apps, and premium apps. And then you have several categories to choose from. We go into apps in advance quite a bit as well. Here are some of your questions, and just, you know, the ProAdvisor doesn't have too much. So let's look at what they have here. They have, where are two places you can search for apps that work with QuickBooks Online? Well, there's the App tab in QuickBooks Online Accountant, or you can go to www.apps.com. And a lot of people are like, no way. Yeah, if you put it in, you'll see www.apps.com is QuickBooks Online list of apps. From QuickBooks Online Accountant, where could you search for apps by specialty or by business process? So remember that what I just showed you in that article, when you get to the apps tab that's here in the navigation pane, you'll see Browse category. And when you click down, there'll be several different business specialty options you can look at. You know, that's the ones that were listed on the left-hand side of this article. When logged into QuickBooks Online Accountant, where can you view apps that were connected to your client's QuickBooks Online? You would go to Apps, and then you would go to Client Apps, because you're in QBOA, you have your apps, and then you have your client apps. So you would go to the tab Client Apps. All right, the next topic is tags. Tags are customizable labels that let you track transactions however you'd like. You can tag invoices, expenses, and bills. Group tabs together and run reports to see how specific areas of your business are doing. They don't impact your books. Instead, they're just a way for your team to track the info that matters most to you. They're like notes in a way, but they're called tags because we have notes. To turn them off or on, for your sales form, you go to the gear icon, Accountant Settings, Sales tab, and then in the Sales Form tab, you'll see where it says tags, and you can turn that on and off. And then you would click Save and Done. For the expense form, you'd go to gear icon, Accountant Settings, Expense tab, and in the Bills and Expense section, you would turn off the Show Tags field on expense and purchase form. So I'll show you that real quick. So for tags, you come over here, and then we go to Accountant Settings. Remember, this is a QBO company. For ours, it would be Company Settings for, you know, the QBO Accountant version. And then you come over here to Sales for the Sales one. Under Sales Form tab, you'll see all the way in the bottom, tags, and I have it on. But if you wanted to turn it off, you'd come over here and you would turn it off. The other one is in Expenses. You would go to the Bills and Expenses, and you would see Show Tags field on Expense and Purchase Form. I have it on. If you want, you'd come over here and turn it off. So those are the places. I wanted you to get the visualization on that. And that's it for tags, huh? Is it? Okay, here's our tag sample questions. Which of these are customizable labels that clients can assign to transactions of their choice? Well, tags. Tags are customizable labels. So once you see that, that terminology, customizable labels, tags. Where can you see the number of tags and tags group created? You go to banking and then tabs. So let me show you that real quick. So if you go to the banking and you go to the tags, that's where you'll see your list of tags. I don't think the sample company has any Let's see, I was already in banking. Okay. Oh, I think my internet is slow. But I think we're wasting our time anyway, because I don't think that the Craig's Landscaping has any tags. Well, it's taking its sweet old time to come up. But anyway, you see where you go. So you go to banking and you can click tabs, or you can come over here and click tabs. Where would you go to disable tags? And those are the two I just showed you. It just showed you a second ago. Go into the accounting and settings. You should have this in your notes already from the last slide. All right, estimates. So some companies first provide their clients with an estimate, also known as a quote, a bid, or proposal for work that you plan to do. The form looks similar to an invoice, but instead of charging your customers, you're giving them a proposed product or service and their costs. Then when the work is done and you're ready to invoice your customer, you can convert that estimate to an invoice, so you don't have to enter it in twice. Let's look at what the estimate screen looks like and where to access it. So there's three ways. You can go to + new and estimates under customers, the third one down, or you can go to sales and then estimates, or you can also go to sales, all sales, and then new transaction estimates. So let's look at these. Okay, so I can go to + new, and under customer, the third one down is estimate. Or I can go to sales and then there's estimates. Or I can go to sales and then I can go to all sales. Well, I don't know why you would do this extra step, which this is not working for me, I don't think. Unfortunately, my internet is frozen. Well, take my word for it. You can go to sales, all sales, and then under new transaction, when you click the drop down, estimate will be one of them. But I was just about to say, why would you do that when obviously the easiest way I think would be + new estimate. My students know I love just going to + new for almost everything. Creating a purchase order from an estimate helps streamline the purchasing process once a customer approves that estimate. So first make sure you have your purchase orders on. You would go to gear icon, account and settings, expenses, and then purchase orders. Make sure those are on. So let's look at sample questions. If you don't see the copy to purchase order form from within an estimate, where do you turn on the use purchase order settings? We just looked at that. Gear icon, account settings, expense, and then purchase orders. What are the 4 status types that can be assigned to an estimate on QuickBooks Online? Well, let me see if it ever came up. Did it come on? Oh, look. So we have all sales, new transaction, and then I can select estimate. They all take you to the same estimate. And you're going to see the estimate looks very similar to the invoice, almost exactly alike. But over here you have the 4 choices. You can have pending, accepted, closed, or rejected. So that's our answer. What are the 4 status types? Pending, rejected, accepted, and closed. Which feature helps streamline the purchasing process once a customer approves an estimate? I just said creating a purchase order from that estimate. So you created the estimate, you sat with the client, they agreed to it. The next thing you're going to do is that purchase order for the items that you need or the materials that you need to proceed with. And that streamlines that whole process for you and your customer. How would you create a new estimate in QuickBooks Online? They might have 1, 2, or 3 of these, have them all. The + new estimate, the sales estimate, or the long way, which we used, sales, all sales, new transaction, and estimate. Me, I would use + new estimate. All right, customizing. So under customization, one of the things I love showing my new clients are custom form styles. They allow you to customize your sales forms, invoices, and your sales forms include invoices, estimates, and sales receipts. And once you've selected the sales form, there are 3 tabs to choose from: design, content, and email. So there might be a few questions on these, and I was going to have you just look at that. I'm hoping this doesn't act up. So let's look at custom sales form. So you go to gear icon. Good, so far so good. And you're going to go to custom form styles. And then on the right hand side is where you would see styles, but it's taking a second. Okay, there we go, yay. So new style, and I'm going to choose invoice. So the pop-up window is going to give me the 3 tabs I just said: design, content, and emails. So you're going to want to have this in your notes, okay, because there might be questions on any of these. So under design, here are your 5 choices: change up template, add a logo, have a color design, change a font, or edit your print settings. Under content, you have three sections. You have the header, you have the table, and then you have the footer. And there's sections under each one of them. And then emails, you get to choose how you want your invoice to appear in an email. So you can send an email to your client and have your invoice in there. So you can have a full detail invoice or you can have a summarized detail invoice. And then you would check, do you want it in PDF attached? All right, so let's now look at what type of, oh no, we have more information. Custom fields let you track important information that matters most to you and your customers. Okay, we moved over to a new topic under customization, custom fields. All right, you can only create 3 custom fields on sales forms in QuickBooks Online Plus and Essentials. And then also in Plus, you can create 3 custom fields for purchase orders. In QuickBooks Online Advanced, you can have up to 12 active custom fields for each type of form: invoice, estimate, purchase order, expense, bill, and so on. And then another 12 for each type of profile, which would be customer or vendor. So unfortunately, with my sample company here, I'm not going to be able to actually show you one. That's why I have these 2 pictures. So I can show you how to access it. So to access custom fields, you can either go through Gear Icon Custom Fields, or you can go to Gear Icon Accounts and Settings, Sales, and under Sales Form Content, there's a link that says custom fields. I can show you that in a second. But before I want to show you here, this is if I were in one of those forms and I said, oh, I want to add a custom field, it would look like this. And the next screen will look at the list of custom fields. But Craig's Landscaping doesn't have it, but I still will show you how to get there. So you can either come over here and go to, I'm still in here, huh? My internet is slow, I'm sorry. So, okay, we can go over here to, okay, here we go here, and then we have custom fields here. And the other way is to go to Accounts and Settings, go to Sales, and then under Sales Form, let me come over here. I think I have to go in here to get it. Okay, so when we go to Sales Form and under Custom Fields, we also have the link Custom Fields. Now, okay, why would you go this way? I don't know, because you could just simply go to Gear Icon and Custom Fields. But the other way is to go to Sales and then under Salesforce, go to Edit, and then you'd be able to get the Custom Fields. All right, and then this was the other one I wanted to show you. So there is a custom fields page and it lists all your custom fields so you can manage them easily. To see it, you'd go to the gear icon and then custom fields, and in the action column, when you have all your fields down there, remember with advanced you can have up to 12 as well as 12 customers and vendors. You can come over here down in the action column to edit any of the ones you want to do some changes to. So here's some questions to the customization. A client has expressed that he would like his customers to see the full invoice details from the emails they're sending out, and as well as have a PDF attached. What areas within QBO must he access? Well, he would go to Gear Icon and Custom Form Styles, because remember from there I showed you, you would go to the third one over emails and make those selections. What are the 3 sections in the Content tab of the Custom Form Style tools? So that was that middle one, right? And that had a header on the top, a table in the middle, and a footer on the bottom. When choosing how sales forms like invoices, estimates, and sales receipts appear in emails, what option can be chosen in Custom Form Style email? That was, you can either have the invoice in full detail or summarized details. Here's another question. Which 5 options from customizing invoice can you access via the custom form styles, new style invoice? So the first one is gives you the 5 options of select the template, add a logo, change the invoice fonts, change the color scheme, or edit the print settings. Here's another question. How can custom fields be accessed from QuickBooks Online? So you can go to Gear Icon Custom Fields, or you can go to Gear Icon the long way, which I said doesn't make any sense. You can go to the Gear Icon, Accounts and Settings, Sales, and then from Sales Forms Content. Remember, you have to select the Edit pencil icon, and then you can select that link. What is the lowest subscription level of QuickBooks Online that allows custom fields to be added to purchase orders? So the key here is purchase orders. Remember, purchase orders is only found in Plus and Advanced, so therefore the lowest subscription level would be Plus. What subscription level of QuickBooks Online allows custom fields to be added to sales forms? So that would be Essentials, because remember it said Essentials and Plus you can have 3. So it'd be Essentials, Plus, and Advanced. All of them you can add to sales forms. So I have just a few slides at the end. These are questions that were in the last test that I think could possibly still be in the database, and it's worth having in your notes. So you must select either Accountant or Business View when you're creating a new QuickBook company. And the way you would access that is going to the gear icon. And on the bottom, it would be, you'd switch either to Business View or Accountant View. So the question is, how can you switch from Accountant View to Business View? And that would be going to the gear icon. And on the bottom right section of the screen, you would see there the switching option. Here's another couple of user questions that you might see. In the Overview tab of the client list, what filter can be applied to only show clients assigned to a specific team member? That would be the lead. What 2 team user roles have permission to view and search for apps using the App tab in QBOA? The primary admin and the full access. Apps. How can an accountant user connect an app to a client's QuickBook Online account? They would go to Apps, Search App, and Get App Now. That was actually on that Intuit site, if you remember. OAuth. So I didn't see any questions on there, but you just never know. Maybe it's still in there. OAuth stands for Open Authorization. It means that your client no longer has to provide their bank username and password setup because it's stored. What connection method eliminates the need to provide a bank username or password? So that'd be a question. The answer would be OAuth. Here's another one. What 2 statements are true when creating an OAuth bank connection? 1, most banks require the primary account holder to establish the OAuth connection to the bank. And 2, not all banks and financial institutions support the OAuth bank connection. Importing vendors. So there was a few vendor section questions in the section that they took out. You never know, it might still be, so you might as well have them in your notes. So they talked about importing vendors, which we talked about in section 1 that wasn't there before. Remember, you can do Excel, which is XLS or XLSX, and then CSV and Google Sheets. How do you do it? By gear icon, import data and vendors. Or you can go to expenses, vendors, new vendor, or you can put in a new vendor by going expenses, vendors, and import vendor from the drop down. So when you go to the new vendor, there's a drop down and you can also select import vendor. So these are the 3 ways you can put in vendor information. Here's another question. When creating vendors, you should use a 0 opening balance. I always say that to my students, always, or my clients, always use 0 when you're doing a vendor, a new product, because if you don't, automatically QuickBooks Online will create a journal entry that has that balance owed, and it won't know where to go to. So the question is, how is this recorded? It's recorded through a journal entry. So that would be the answer. Which field is required when importing vendors? The vendor name. You need to at least put the vendor name. Because if you think about it, if you're in the invoice or you just go add new, all they want is the vendor name. And then after that, you can input whatever information. You could see that in the course I taught. Here's some more vendor questions. When setting up a product service item, what box needs to be selected to assign a preferred vendor? Well, on the top, you would have had to select it. I purchased this product or service from a vendor for that section to appear. How can a client track payments made to a 1099 contractor or vendor in QuickBooks Online? Well, when they're setting up that vendor, in the new vendor information screen, you want to click, there's that checkbox, you have to click track payments for 1099, and then that's when they will start to track payments for that client, that vendor, I mean. There are options to get your client's info into, okay, so now we're doing importing customers. I think this is the last one. So just like we saw with importing vendors, it's the same thing. It's gear icon, import customers, or you can go to sales, customers, new customer, or you can go to sales, customers, and then under this new customer, there's a drop down and you can select import customer from the drop down. So I'm going to end it here. I hope to get section 3 out in the next 4 to 5 days, and I really want to stay on this momentum so that hopefully by the end of the year I'll have all 3 sections, the ProAdvisor, the Advanced, and the Payroll done before the end of the year. That's my goal. Thank you.